As a YouTuber myself, I can tell you that anything that we say here, you're always going to want to take with a big grain of salt. I mean, there's a lot of amazing content here from tutorials, career advice, people sharing their stories about how they became a software developer. But you need to be wary of some of the downsides of consuming information here. Now, that could be me you're watching, some other creators. There's going to be a few things I'm going to reveal in this video about things you want to keep in mind when you're watching content here. So the first thing that you want to know is that when you're watching YouTube, us YouTubers are much more likely to share our successes as opposed to our failures. And by the way, this is a good thing. You want to see successes, right? You probably want inspiration. You want to see somebody like yourself who started with no programming experience, land that first job, and had a successful career. This is really important to keep your motivation up. The problem is that we all actually did struggle, right? We all had self-doubt. I had self-doubt when I started, like, is this actually going to work? Is this the right path? Is the job hunt actually going to work? Like, I definitely had all of those problems, but it's very hard for me to even remember, much less convey that in any of my videos. Here's one of my videos that has over 1 million views about how I became a software developer. I know people really like that, but one of the things I probably did gloss over is all of the self-doubt that I had. It's just hard to fit in there. So just remember when you're watching any of the videos here on YouTube that we tend to gloss over some of the struggle points, but struggling is completely normal, and we're going to share more of our successes. From there, the second thing that you're going to want to keep in mind when you're watching technical content here on YouTube, especially tutorials, is that you might start to think that the coding process, like building things, is a very smooth process, like very straightforward, right? Like you just have an idea for what you want to build, you write out a bunch of code, and voila, it appears, right? But the truth is, and this is the thing you want to keep in mind, is that more often than not, especially when you're new, the coding process is so messy, it's so dirty, it's so everywhere, it's all over the place, right? So if you watch a tutorial where they're just kind of walking you through everything, but you're not really realizing that that creator spent a lot of time maybe preparing, thinking through what they wanted to do, actually practicing it, then you're not really getting the full picture, right? So if you're struggling, like you go to write some code, you think about what you want to do and it doesn't work, guess what? That's normal, right? I think the coding process, what I've learned it to be, is much more iterative. If you kind of think about like working with a ball of clay, like you start to mold it, it doesn't really look good, you mold it a different way, you're working on it, things don't work, things do work. It's just this like iterative process that you keep going over and over again. Sometimes the coding process can be smooth. Sometimes you just have an idea and it kind of is very smooth, but most of the time it's not. It's a messy process. So if you're struggling, don't look at tutorials as the way that life should be. The next thing that YouTubers don't tell you is that when you watch one of our videos from start to finish, you get value out of it and you don't go down and hit the subscribe button, we get very, very sad. So if you want to prevent me from spiraling into a state of hopelessness and fear, go down below and smash the subscribe button. All right, so the next thing from there that us YouTubers have a difficult time expressing is that there is a difference, a massive difference actually, between writing code and developing software. In other words, you're not gonna get paid $100,000, have great benefits, and even more because you know syntax, because you know fundamentals, right? What actually gets you paid, what actually gets you a job is your ability to develop, build, maintain software. Like that's the key there. So what I see happens a lot is people are watching a lot of content on YouTube, learning a lot of really good things like syntax fundamentals, best practices, for example, clean coding practices, which are very important. But it's really about how you apply that knowledge. You have to develop a lot of reference experiences in building different projects because that's what's going to translate to an actual job. So while it's very popular right now to prepare for the technical interview, to know how to pass the technical interview by doing a lot of programming challenges, maybe even data structures and algorithms, what I see is people think the best person wins, right? The person who does the best on those tests win. When what I actually see from people who I work with in my mentorship program is that interviewers now are going beyond that. The technical interview are part of the process. They're also asking about your experience in building your own projects. They want to hear, what project did you build? What was the hardest one? Where did you struggle? And they want to see that because they know and they trust that somebody who's gone on their own, built a lot of projects, has the requisite experience to do the work where they're doing. So what I will tell you is this. Again, you do not get paid for your knowledge. You don't get paid for your knowledge of syntax, of the fundamentals, of best practices, whatever it may be, right? You get paid for your application of that knowledge, of best practices, of syntax, of the fundamentals. And it's a key distinction that will make your life easier. So just don't forget that while it's good to learn the technical stuff, it's also good to apply it as much as you possibly can. Now, if you're looking to get more content from me and also to join a group of like-minded folks who are trying to become a software developer, I would recommend joining my free Facebook group where I post more often than I do here on YouTube. I will leave a link in the description below of how you can do that. Other than that, that's really all I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out, everybody.